Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy. Sometimes I forget to tell y'all who I am. I think I forgot to tell y'all that yesterday. Oh well, here we are. And today we're going to be talking about my top 5 male romances in 2019. Of course, I have some honorable mentions because once again, I read so many male romances and so many 5-star male ances that I just couldn't pick 5. I had to at least mention another 4. So let's start with those honorable mentions. I do not have any copies of these books. I do have one copy that is in my top 5, but the majority of the books you'll see put up over here in this corner. So the first one I'd like to talk about is IRL, which stands for In Real Life, by Lucy Lennox. This was such a fun, cute read. I think I started the year off with this read back in January of 2019. So the story starts off with Connor. He ends up sending out a drunken text. He meets a guy in the bar, and I think it was actually the bartender, and they exchange numbers, and he decides he's going to be like a little frisky when he gets up to his hotel room, and he thinks he's texting him, but little does he know he's texting someone else that might be an enemy or a frenemy. Let's call him a frenemy. So a frenemy to lovers kind of story. It's really cute. It's really fun. I didn't read that correctly. It's also by Molly Maddox. So it's a duo author book by Lucy Lennox and Molly Maddox. I'm just seeing that author's name, so I apologize about that. But I really enjoyed this book. Just wanted to mention it. Next up in my honorable mentions is #Junkie. This was also a cute read. One of my favorite tropes is best friends to lovers, and that's what this story is about. Drew is an Indy race car driver and Trent is a frat boy. So he's still in college. It was very much a slow burn love story because of course it's the best friend thinks he's straight. So, you know, they experiment. Trent tells Drew his true feelings. I love those kind of love stories. This is also a series, so I need to get to the next book, but I really enjoy this one. Next up, we have Filthy Little Secret by Devin McCormick. Devin McCormick is one of my favorite male romance authors. This is another sort of frenemies to lovers kind of deal. So we have Tim, who is a drug dealer. He's trying to make ends meet. He's taking care of his aunt, I believe. It's been a long time since I read this, but I believe it's his aunt he's taking care of. She's very sick. He's got to bring in, he's a breadwinner, so he's got to do it some kind of way, and selling drugs are the fastest and easiest way to do it. And usually he hits up like frat parties and college parties and things like that. And then we have Mark, who is the son of the governor. His boyfriend just broke up with him and is now seeing his best friend, who is a girl. So it hits him really hard, breaks his heart. So he sort of goes out on revenge and hooks up with Tim. And their story just starts to come together. I wouldn't say this is a slow burn because right in the beginning they hook up for that sort of like rebellious hookup. But it was really fun. Devin McCormick's writing is steamy and just 90 miles an hour. I just love it. It was such a fun read. And last but not least in my honorable mentions, I have to include Love and Pain by Charlie Cochet. Charlie Cochet is, again, one of my favorite male romances. She is the author of the 3rd series that I talk so much about. If you have not read that series and you're looking for something in the male romance category, I would start off with that because it's just fun, it's quirky, you're going to fall in love with Dex. But anyway, back to Love and Pain. This is the start of one of her new series. So this is her first book in the Thirds Universe series. And this book focuses on Austin Payne. Austin is in the 3rd series. He's part of the gang, but he's sort of in the background because he is part of 10, which is basically like being a part of FBI or CIA. So he's sort of in the background. He's a super fun character. I fell in love with him and I wanted more of him. So I was very excited when she decided to give Austin his own story. So that's what we get in Love and Pain. Charlie Cochet just doesn't let you down. Now on to my top 5 in male romances. And coming in at number 5 is Hat Trick. This is from the Fake Boyfriend series written by Eden Finley. Love this series, and this book is one of my favorite in the series. Not all of them have been my favorite, but I really enjoyed this last one. I think it did come out this past year in 2019, but this book focuses on Soren and Jet's story. I had to remember. Jet is actually the brother of one of our other fake boyfriend characters, I believe Matt. And Soren is an NHL hockey player, so he's just good friends with all the other jocks, I guess, in this series. We have football players, we have baseball players. It's a super fun sports male romance series. I enjoy it so much. But this one just tugged at my heartstrings. Soren is just such a sensitive character. I love him. He came out in a couple books before. He came out in like the NHL. He did it for his boyfriend, and then they ended up breaking up. And so now he's going on this trip with all his other buddies from other books. And then in comes Jet, who is now a famous like rock star, I guess. You'd have to really read the whole series to get what's happening with Soren and Jet, but you get a little bit of their backstory in Hat Trick. The story goes back and forth. It goes from like past to present with both these characters, and how they met, how they came about, and how they had kind of hooked up before this book. So when Jet comes on the trip with them and he sees that Soren is there, things start to bloom between the two of them, but they sort of left off in like on a bad note a little bit. So this is just them kind of growing their relationship back. But yes, there's a little bit going on with Jet. It was just a really good story. There was a lot going on. I really enjoyed hearing their backstory and how they met. Really fun. I loved it. Coming in at number 4, this is one I just recently read. This is The Blueprint by S.E. Harmon. Let me just interrupt myself for a second because I forgot to mention how I actually read these books. Most of these were read on my Nook in ebook form, but I did listen to a good bit of them. I did listen to IRL. I listened to #Junkie. I also listened to Love and Pain, and I listened to Blueprint, or The Blueprint. The rest I actually read. So back to The Blueprint. This one I just recently read. This is another best friends to lovers story. Love this story. This was a very slow burn book, and this is part of a series. So I still felt like I didn't get enough. So I'm very much looking forward to book 2. But I still love this book. I love their story. So we have Kelly, who is a super cute science professor, and then we have Blue, who is a NFL. I have so many like players in my. Was he football? Was he hockey? Was he baseball? He was football. And he, of course, is straight, but him and Kelly have been best friends forever. Kelly has always been in love with Blue, but has tried to rein it in and just be his friend. But now he just can't hold it in anymore. And we just go from there. Kelly tells him his true feelings, and Blue tries to go with it and see how he feels. He knows he loves Kelly, but does he love him that way? Very slow burn. Loved it. Can't wait for the second one. At number 3, we have Upside Down by N.R. Walker. Such a good story, y'all. This has nothing to do with sexy times or any steamy love scenes. It was just all about the relationship and all about the two people in that relationship. So it's a story about two asexual characters. We have Jordan, who is a librarian. He's a character that I just fell in love with. He's funny. Every other word he says is the F word. He's throwing F-bombs left and right. He's just hilarious, and he's very high strung. He has very high anxiety. I loved reading his parts of the story. He just, I don't know, something about him just warmed my heart. And then we have Hennessy. Hennessy is also a very loving character. He just moved to that area, wherever they are. He just moved there. Him and a previous boyfriend broke up. That boyfriend left him because Hennessy couldn't give him what he needed. So being asexual, these two characters, Jordan and Hennessy, just did not want a relationship based on sex. It wasn't something that they wanted to do. I don't know the ins and outs of sexuality, but I loved this story, and I loved how it was written, and how sweet these two characters were, and how sweet their friendship was, and how they became to know and love one another without having to have a sexual relationship. I just loved reading about it, and it just warmed my heart. It was such a good story. I highly recommend this. This could be a good start if you're interested in a male-male romance, but you're a little iffy about it. This is a good place to start, because there's no sexual content at all. It's just a story about two people falling in love, and it's very sweet, and I loved it. Number 2, I actually do have the book, and that is Top Secret by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy, one of my favorite duo authors. Of course, they wrote the Him and Us series. Absolutely love that. I did re-listen to that series this year, but I didn't include that in here because it wasn't something I first read in 2019. Otherwise, it would be on this list. I still highly recommend that series though. So this is Luke and Keaton's story. The story starts off with Keaton and his girlfriend. His girlfriend wants to have a threesome for her birthday. So Keaton goes online to see if he can find somebody. She wants a male partner. So he's sitting here thinking, can I go through with this? Is this something that I can do? Well, let me try it for her. This is something she really wants, so I'm gonna give it a try. He goes online on like a hookup app. He comes across this guy named, and his handle is called Center3. And they get to talking and sort of form a friendship at first. Keaton's handle is Lobster Shorts. Did I say? Yes, Lobster Shorts. It has to do with some swim trunks. You'll learn if you read this. So as Lobster Shorts and Center3 get to know each other and become friends over this app, they kind of fall for each other. And Keaton starts to feel things that he didn't realize that he felt, and realizes that maybe that's the reason he felt this way, because of this. He starts to realize, he's starting to like come into his own. So anyway, Keaton is also a frat boy, and Luke is also a frat boy within the frat house, and they're sort of fighting against each other. Little do they know that they are chatting with each other. So they are both competing for the presidency of the frat house, if I'm remembering correctly. Once Keaton realizes who Center3 is, and once Luke realizes who Lobster Shorts is, the story just takes off from there, and I love it. I love Luke. Oh my god, I love his character. I feel for him. My heart goes out for him. I love Keaton too, but Luke just I don't know, he just has a place right here. It's such a cute love story, such a good frenemies to lovers story, lots of steamy, sexy times. Love it. It would have been number 1, but I went and picked up this book. This is Sir by N.R. Walker, and oh my goodness, if anything pulls at your heartstrings, it is this book. N.R. Walker's writing is just phenomenal. It's on another level. It's everything. It just pulls you in. And these characters just come to life and they're so real and you feel for them. This is actually a BDSM story. I've never read BDSM except for like 50 Shades of Grey, but I feel like that doesn't really count. But anyway, this is actually like a club, a BDSM club that they're in, but it's a highly, like, it's a very well done, very well written type of club. I don't know how to explain it, but very high class. But not only is this a BDSM story, this is a male romance. So we have Sig. Sig is our dom, and he already has a sub whose name is 11. They have a very strong bond. They have a very loving relationship. And being that Sig is such a highly respected dom, I guess, he is given the opportunity to take in another sub. Now this sub has been hurt by another dom. His name is Hunter. They have like hard limits. And Hunter's sub, or Hunter's dom, I do not know the world of BDSM, but Hunter's dom not only abused Hunter, but also went over his hard limits and did them anyway. He was found out, he was punished for it, and now Hunter needs to be placed with another dom. So he is placed with Sig. And this story, y'all, is so heartwarming. Oh my God, I know I said that a lot during this video, but this story, that's why it's my number 1 male romance for 2019, because it just hit all the right spots. I mean, it was just respectable and loving, and I don't even know how to describe this book. I know it's a BDSM, but it was so much more than BDSM. It was so much more. Yes, there are sexual scenes between the 3 of these characters, but that's not what this book focuses on. It focuses on the feelings of these characters and how they respect each other, and how Sig goes about being such a respectable dom to his subs. And Hunter just broke my heart, and the way Sig and Levin took him into their home and treated him the way that he should have been treated in the first place was just made my heart happy. And I cried so many times during this book. It just gave me all the feels, y'all. It was just a beautiful, beautiful story. All right, that is it for my top male romances of 2019. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm gonna put everything that I talked about, all these books that I mentioned, down below, of course, as well as a link to my 2019 reads on Goodreads if you just want to go see all what I read in 2019. I read 92 books. It was a great year. If you read any of these books, let me know in the comments down below if you have any recommendations as far as male romances that you think I would enjoy. Put them down below in the comments. I'd love to check them out. My social medias are down there. Come by and tell me hello. But yeah, that is it, y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching as always. And I will see y'all tomorrow with some more male romances, but in young adult category. Bye, y'all.